Anyone who doesn't share the same brain cell as whatever this creature is knows that everything Donald Trump touches turns to shit.
I've never farted ever, like no one ever didn't fart.
And it's very often, damn near daily at this point, that we see Donald Trump do something that pretty instantly backfires on him and blows up in his face. Our channel is chock full of those myriad magical moments that are oh so memorable. Memorable for you, the audience, of course, not Dementia Don.
I don't know.
But every so often, we get the absolute treat of one of Donald Trump's absolute shit ideas stinking up the whole room and dealing collateral damage to his ass-kissing acolytes. It's sort of like if Trump's administration were the caboose to his human centipede, and Trump just had his birthday Big Mac shake with extra X-Lax. And that is exactly the case today for Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, colloquially known as Ice Barbie, who you may recognize from her iconic recent cameos.
I know it's tough doing what's hard, but we could use more men like you to distract.
Whoa! What the fuck?
Your Botox, Miss Noem?
Oh yeah, fix me up, fix me up.
Another day doing what's tough.
So suffice to say, Ice Barbie has been up against a bit of a PR nightmare recently. So out of the goodness of his grease-clogged heart, and because he knows firsthand how hard it is when South Park accurately portrays your personhood to millions of people, Donald Trump decided to waste millions of dollars of your taxpayer money on a pro-Ice PR blitz that is blowing up straight out of Trump's diaper and into Ice Barbie's face. Let's break it all down as you all break those like and subscribe buttons down below and drop your best Trump potty humor in those comments. You see, the Trump administration is set to spend up to $50 million on a wave of taxpayer-funded PR amid the torrent of negative coverage dogging his Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Which, just as a quick refresher, there's been a lot of.
The official Department of Homeland Security Twitter, the agency of the United States government, shared an image of South Park's ICE agents on their page, and South Park responded with this quote tweet. Wait, so we are relevant? Hashtag eat a bag of dicks. That quote tweet nearly 10x'd Homeland Security and was obviously in reference to the White House's assertion that South Park hadn't been relevant in 20 years. South Park shows Kristi Noem killing like 5 puppies over the course of this episode. There's also this whole body horror subplot where Noem's face keeps melting and trying to escape her body, only for this group of stylists to come and touch her up as often as needed, which I feel like is not just ripping on Noem, but also commentary on the way that they're basically trying to give these kinds of government agencies marketing facelifts, make them look shiny and appealing.
But in order to combat that controversial coverage, the Department for Homeland Security posted a planning forecast record this week where they pledged $20 million to $50 million as an international campaign follow-on to the Stronger Border, Stronger America ads that have starred Noem recently. And wouldn't you know, the most transparent administration in history actually did leave a paper trail for this, giving themselves that nice $30 million cushion of your taxpayer money to make some new ads to make Ice and Kristi Noem seem cool again. Because the recent ones had quite the opposite effect. But then a DHS spokesperson said, don't worry, the spending on the new campaign is not related to coverage of Kristi Noem, which is probably a good move considering she has been skewered over her cosplays and photo ops promoting immigration and customs enforcement and Trump's hardline deportation agenda.
Welcome to the team, recruits. I'm Kristi Noem, head of Homeland Security.
Oh, she seems nice. Okay, very pretty.
A few years ago, I had to put my puppy down by shooting it in the face. Because sometimes doing what's important means doing what's hard.
Whoa, whoa!
But here's where things get even more interesting, because the PR campaign will be funded from September through March, listing the incumbent as People Who Think LLC. Don't even get me started, a company with ties to the GOP and Noem's unofficial chief of staff, Corey Lewandowski, who also served as Trump's 2016 campaign manager. But get this, Noem and Lewandowski, who are both married to other people, have denied long-standing rumors that they are romantically involved, which Tony actually cut covered in an incredible video just the other day.
Kristi Noem has a secret boyfriend, and unfortunately, it's a name that you're probably sick of hearing. Corey Lewandowski, the man who was kicked off of Trump's first campaign for being a bit too handsy, which is a bit like getting kicked off a firing squad for being too trigger happy.
Look at that.
Steady as a rock.
Yeah, but I shoot with this hand.
Corey has managed to keep his career alive by sneaking in as a special government employee like Elon Musk was, but it turns out that he might have been fudging his hours in order to spend more time with his puppy-killing partner.
More on that story later, it's in the time code down below. But as you dig further into the financials, the story gets even more interesting because federal data shows that this company has been awarded $26.7 million this financial year alone, suggesting it could stand to earn nearly double that in this latest deal. And this new spending is the latest tranche from a pot that has been reported as being up to worth $200 million, which has long been budgeted for Noem's nationwide and international messaging drive. And DHS insisted after that rollout that the buys were, quote, competitive, assumingly meaning like competitive in the market for market rates. But a document posted in a federal database in March shows officials at the time invoked, quote, unusual and compelling urgency tied to Trump's declaration of a national emergency at the border, according to the Los Angeles Times. And that measure allows federal agencies to skip a typical competitive process for bidding on the pricing of these ads, which naturally sparked alarm for Democrats on the House Homeland Security Committee, who wrote a letter to Noem slamming a blatant misuse of American tax dollars and demanding records by April 4th, which the DHS still has not responded to. So not only are Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security, and Donald Trump denying habeas corpus, deporting citizens, infringing on people's human rights, and being the literal definition of a deep state swamp, they are also, yet again, wasting millions upon millions of taxpayer dollars, bloating up their ad campaign budget by not using competitive rates and splurging money, throwing it into a blazing fire in order to make themselves look cool and combat their own negative press. But the fucking kicker is, it's not even working. The episode that just aired got double, you heard that right, the ratings of the initial episode with the naked Trump and the tiny weenie and all that. But on top of that, Kristi Noem, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, has responded, and as per usual, whenever this administration responds to something South Park does, it immediately blows up in their face, and that's exactly what's happening here. If that weren't evidence enough, every deflection from this administration is an admission. The spokesperson denied that the spending is part of an effort to counter negative coverage of Noem, and they said, quote, to the Daily Beast's chagrin, these ads are working and illegal aliens are leaving in droves. None of which is true. And I've used this clip 1,000 times already, but it is so good because this is all thanks to Republicans ass-kissing Donald Trump and allowing him to bloat not only our national debt beyond belief, but ICE's budget as well through his big bastardization bill.
Let's start by looking at this chart that shows law enforcement spending this year before the triple B passed. The triple bypass, if you will. We're giving ourselves a heart attack with this fucking thing. All right, look, you see the amount that we spend on immigration enforcement currently? It's already greater than the FBI, DEA, DHS, ATF, IRS, and any other three-letter agency combined, which is insane. But I want to be clear that this is how much we were spending on immigration enforcement before Trump signed the triple B. This is how much we're spending on immigration enforcement now. We are about to direct an ungodly and unprecedented sum of money towards immigration enforcement and border control. This taxpayer money, your money, is going to be used to fund a massive internal army devoted to racially profiling, arresting, and deporting law-abiding residents of this country.
And now on top of that, it'll be used on pro-ICE propaganda to prop up Kristi Noem's poll numbers and her plastic face. Folks, it is so beyond time that we stand up for ourselves, for this country, and for the integrity of all human beings. except the ones that share a brain cell with this thing. And because from what I've seen, frankly, nobody has the balls to do that, not Democrats, definitely not Republicans, we are taking the liberty onto ourselves. And if you will join us and the incredible other independent content creators and news outlets on this platform that are doing amazing work, then maybe together we actually stand a chance. Because the mainstream media and mainstream politicians aren't gonna do shit for us anymore. So please, do yourself and us a favor, show your support, drop a like, subscribe, comment on this video, so that YouTube pushes this information out there, so that maybe, just maybe, we can get through the thick skulls of people like that. Thank you all for your incredible support and for sitting through my potty humor. I do think it's important to make some of this stuff as lighthearted as possible on the front end so we can really get to the meat of what is actually happening here. And God knows that these people hate nothing more than being ridiculed, mocked, and roasted into oblivion. So if you made it this far, and if nothing else, please drop a potty humor joke in the comments about Kristi, Noem, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, I don't care who. But I appreciate y'all, I love your faces, and I will see you in the next one.
So I had actually never heard of this alleged affair between Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem before, but I guess I was just late to the game because it turns out it wasn't even that hidden. According to this 2023 reporting, former Trump aide Corey Lewandowski and then Governor of South Dakota Kristi Noem were having an absurdly blatant and public affair, getting handsy at the hotel bar. Married Republican South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has engaged in a years-long affair with longtime Donald Trump advisor Corey Lewandowski. Though no images of the two getting frisky are known to exist, the pair have been less than discreet about their relationship, with one source recalling them making out at a hotel bar during a 2021 CPAC convention in Orlando. I remember it was so absurdly blatant and public, said the person who recalled Noem and Lewandowski getting handsy at the bar of the Hyatt Regency Orlando with between 100 and 200 others around. Like, they're not even hiding it. They're just going to town on each other right there in front of everyone. It isn't like we caught them at some dive bar miles away. It's a lobby bar where everyone is staying, and so there's a bajillion political operatives and journalists and electeds around. I remember I saw it with my own eyes and a couple of other people saw it, and the blatantness was absurd. Now, a quick reminder here. Both Lewandowski and Kristi Canine Killer Noem are married. They have full families with kids and everything, and yet here they are making out in a hotel bar back in 2023. And since then, it seems like Corey's special connection to Kristi has allowed him to gain a shocking amount of power at Homeland Security for a man who isn't technically employed there. Lewandowski has become a fixture at the Department of Homeland Security, serving as Noem's chief advisor. But on paper, he was originally tapped to serve as a special government employee, a unique role meant to span a limited number of days. He's not included on the department's leadership list, but in other DHS materials, he's being described as chief advisor to the secretary. A Homeland Security official, get this, because this is about a week ago, said that Lewandowski remains a special government employee, a status that typically lasts up to 130 days, and his time, quote, is kept by a career DHS employee who submits the paperwork on a bi-weekly basis. He isn't paid by DHS and doesn't receive government benefits. Now, this is before the most recent reporting that shows his timesheet was incorrect. So who is this career DHS employee, and why would they conveniently lie for Lewandowski? I'm sure somebody would do it. Corey is a fixer, floating around the Trump regime, a lobbyist, an advisor, sidekick, but never elected. He's the definition of the deep state, and he's become the de facto chief of staff at the DHS. And that's not me coming up with a conspiracy. That's what the source told CNN. He's the de facto chief of staff in the department. Everyone is terrified of him because he has almost singular authority to fire people. A source familiar with the dynamic told CNN. Homeland Security officials told CNN Lewandowski is viewed as Noem's gatekeeper. Asked about his role, the senior DHS official described him as an advisor. Either way, this is a very creepy and strange relationship. Essentially, behind the scenes, DHS is being run by Lewandowski, a man who's not even there in an official capacity. And he has traveled everywhere with Kristi Noem, attached at the hip to his plastic love. The longtime Donald Trump ally and early 2016 campaign manager is not officially on the DHS roster, but Trump officials and DHS staff have told reporters that he is performing the functions of Secretary Kristi Noem's chief of staff, while the actual chief of staff position has not been filled. He has accompanied Noem on trips to confer with foreign leaders in Israel, Chile, Argentina, Costa Rica, Colombia, El Salvador, and Mexico. Often, he's the only one by her side at meetings. According to CNN, he approved billions of dollars in FEMA grants to be funneled to Republican-led states, demanded that personnel take polygraphs after a leak to the press, ordered the firing of government workers, and asked that others be placed on leave for infractions such as using gender pronouns in an email. The man has just been let loose on the Department of Homeland Security, and because he's a special government employee, he answers to no one, basically. But it's Corey's undying devotion to his kissing buddy, Kristi Noem, that is becoming too much for even Trump, it seems, as his status as a temporary government employee should have run out by now. Elon Musk's ran out a couple of months ago, yet Corey is still here. Here's the scoop from Axios. White House suspicious of Lewandowski's temp work. Lewandowski doesn't want to clock out of his temporary government gig because he gets to hang out with his mistress all day. So administration officials believe he's avoiding clocking in. The department told Axios that he has worked only 69 days since he was hired shortly after Noem's Jan 25th confirmation. 4 administration sources tell Axios they believe that's a gross undercount and that he's exceeded his allowed time as a temporary employee. 2 sources with knowledge of Lewandowski's work said he was seen entering government buildings with other employees to avoid swiping his own badge. That way, he could work without clocking in. They said he doesn't always use his government email or phone number for official business, avoiding digital paper trails on government systems. Those observations were relayed to White House officials, one of whom told Axios, "We're hearing that Corey's doing everything, failing to swipe in, working from home, whatever, to undercount his days. It's fair to say his work is being watched now." Besides his proximity to power, Lewandowski's work at DHS has attracted media attention because of his close relationship with Noem. The two, married to others, have long denied rumors they're romantically involved. But concerns about their relationship led President Trump to nix the idea of allowing Noem to make Lewandowski her chief of staff and instead have him become an SGE, special government employee, which is extra hilarious because that means Kristi Noem tried to officially make her side piece her sidekick, and Trump was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So instead, they're just doing this special government employee thing and trying to stretch it out as far as possible. I mean, these two are in love, clearly. Everyone's scared shitless of Lewandowski, a former DHS official told Axios. The feeling is that if they go up against Corey, they're going to lose. And I have to say that they're right. Lewandowski himself says, "I've got friends across the government. So maybe Sean Duffy calls me and says, 'Corey, can you help me?' And some of the other cabinet members, whether it's Scott Bessent or others, say, 'Hey, Corey, would you help us?'" Lewandowski once bragged. So clearly, this guy's got his little fingers all the way across our government. He kind of reminds me of Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. It's clear from his actions that Lewandowski is suspiciously dedicated to the career of Kristi Noem. Some would say he's more dedicated to her than he is to his own career, as lying to the White House and trying to get around these work requirements doesn't exactly seem like a good good idea if you're a MAGA operative. No word yet on if there's going to be any kind of actual punishment or removal for Lewandowski, but as of now, his ruse has been sniffed out. So who knows? Maybe Trump will smile down on this little love affair. After all, he is fond of cheating. If you guys want to stay informed on what these heinous degenerates are up to in the halls of government, then subscribe to Really American. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.